What's going on, everybody? This is Emerald Knight Leon back with another deck analysis. Today we're actually going to be doing slight two-part deck analysis. The first one will be today, and then the second one will be coming out tomorrow. Both are covering the same deck, which is Crossheart, because there's some things we got to talk about Crossheart. Crossheart has been dominating in JP for a while, to the point where only a week after BT11 gets released, we get a restricted list where Shoutmon X4 and Sunrise Buster basically get restricted to one. And that is going to be taking effect this next Friday. Which has led to, people kind of trying to figure out, how are we running Shoutmon then? The answer is, well, there are some ways. But it's never going to be as competitive as it was when X4 and Sunrise Buster were at their max 4 each. Up until we get to BT11, where we are going to get more Crossheart support in the forms of Shoutmon plus Starmon Sword and X3 and X7. But in the meantime, I have kind of figured, with how cheap King version is, Shoutmon and Crossheart as of right now is probably the best deck for someone who is just getting into the game and wants to learn how to do cross mechanics. Considering the deck outside of X5 is relatively really cheap, at most, King version right now is running about $10. And X5, as of right now, well, let us make a quick check. But even it should hopefully be below 20. But given the reason why this is going to be a two-parter is today's video is actually covering a more casual and beginner-focused Crossheart deck, while tomorrow's video is actually going to be on a more competitive version that does follow the new restriction lists that are coming out next Friday. Now, let's see. Shoutmon X5 is currently just running about $3. Unless you're going after the Altart, in which case that's about $13. Ever since we got the new restriction list, the prices for a lot of the Shoutmon cards have actually gone down a lot. They might come back up during BT11, but that's when we're going to have a whole new decision to make when it comes to Crossheart, which I'll explain when we get to that set. Starting off, though, we are running 4 Pikmons. These Pikmons are non-negotiable. They are specifically made for Crossheart here. All of your level 3s, your Starmons, your Shoutmons, and your Sparrowmons all have the stipulation Digivolve 0 from level 2 with Crossheart in its trait. So all 3 of these rookies can Digivolve off of this yellow Pikmon here. This Pikmon has, when attacking, if this Digimon has Crossheart in its traits, draw 1. Theoretically speaking, if you have some way of unsuspending your X5 during your turn to get a second swing in, you could get 2 draws off of that. But as of right now, that would require some tech that might make the deck a bit more clunky if you're relying on that one combo. As for our level 3s, we're running again Starmons, Shoutmon, and Sparrowmon. Starting off with Sparrowmon, Sparrowmon is probably the highest rarity level 3 that we have in this deck, as it is a rare. It has all turns while you have another Digimon or Tamer with Crossheart or Twilight in its traits in play. This Digimon gets plus 3000 DP. So it's going to essentially go into 5000. The ideal move is you Digivolve into Sparrow and you're raising, and then you just play a Tamer and then pass turn, and then next turn you have a 5000 DP level 3 that can swing. It also, like all cards in this deck, has on deletion save. You may place this card under one of your tamers. Now, the majority of this deck is running either a on deletion save or on deletion material save. And we'll cover material save in just a bit. Before I forget, with Sparrowmon also has the Inherited. Opponent's turn, while this Digimon has Shoutmon or Mervamon in its name, it gains Reboot. This is mainly used for your X5 since it's also considered a blocker. You're going to be able to get that Reboot under swing and pass turn, and it'll just reboot itself. So you've already gotten 2 checks done and it's back to being a blocker. Shoutmon is a searcher for this deck. It has the on play, reveal top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 Digimon card and 1 Tamer card, both with Crossheart in their traits among them to your hand. Place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. So, your Crossheart Tamers are going to be Zenjiro, Taiki, and Akari. All of these have Crossheart in where you would see the traits for a Digimon. Like, for example, Kiriha here would have Blue Flare. Shoutmon also has on deletion save, and it also has the Inherited. For your turn, while this Digimon has Shoutmon in its name, it gains Rush. This is non-negotiable again. You want that Rush, because if you don't have that Rush, you're not going to be able to swing the same turn that you Digicross. More often than not, you can get away with not having, say, a Ballista or a Darulu, or even a Starmons. You cannot get away with not having Shoutmon for Digicrossing. You need that Rush. The only time not having Shoutmon is okay is if you're going into X5 because he's still a blocker. Moving on to Starmon. Starmon is it's as vanilla as this deck can really get. It has the on deletion save, and it has the Inherited. When attacking, if this Digimon has Shoutmon in its name, draw 1. Ideally, you're basically just going to get the draws off of your Pikmons, get the saves, get them under your Tamers, Digicross with Starmon to get extra draws. The original strategy for Crossheart was going into X4, get your draws, swing, get your extra draw, and if you had Akari in play, get even more draws. And the idea is you're going to draw into your remaining 3 X4s. End of attack, if it survived, you can delete it in order to play all of your materials under one of your Tamers, unsuspend it. You're going to just suspend Taiki in order to just redo the combo. You can see why that was an issue. Moving on to our level 4s, though, we have 4 copies of Darulumon, 4 copies of Ballistamon. Why did I show those in reverse? Who knows? 3 copies of Shoutmon King version, and 1 copy of X4. We're still going to run the X4, just because we can at least go into it. It dies. We can then use Shoutmon King version in order to return that X4 back to our hand. We wouldn't be able to, unless we have a lot of memory to work with, we wouldn't be able to go into X4 again that same turn. But at the very least, we would be able to go in next turn, get more draw power off of that. Shoutmon King version is also a very interesting card. It is treated as a Shoutmon, so theoretically you could use it in place of the Rush Shoutmon. You don't want to. You do not. Shoutmon King version, though, does have other benefits. Its on play lets you return a card with Digicross requirements from your trash to your hand. And then when you would Digicross this turn, you may treat this Digimon as meeting one of the Digicross requirements. So essentially how that would work out is, say you're missing Darulumon, and you want to go into X5. But you do have Ballista, Star, Shout, and Sparrow. And the problem is you're at 0 memory, because you just used up your 3 in order to Digicross into King version. Well, you can use King version's effect in order to treat it as one of the materials, essentially replacing Darulumon, so that you can still go into X5 and still get that -2 on every material. So it's a free play. That is the reason why a lot of people are considering teching in King version into their Crossheart decks in place of the X4s. It also has Material Save 1, which lets you, upon deletion, take one of the evolution sources that are part of its Digicross requirements and put it to the bottom of one of your tamers. So if you were to say use Shoutmon Rush here, for example, to go into King version and swing right away, King version dies, you can then put Shoutmon Rush over here under one of your tamers. Moving on, let's talk about Ballistamon. Ballistamon is our blocker of the deck. He will be able to gain blocker as long as we have another Digimon or Tamer with Crossheart in its trait in play, but only then. If you were to hard play Ballistamon and you don't have another Crossheart Digimon or Tamer, and your only other Crosshearts in Raising, that does not count, so it's not considered a blocker. It also has on deletion save, and it has the inherited of if the Digimon has Shoutmon in its name, it gains piercing, which is really useful, especially in a mirror match where you're gonna essentially say you play an Akari to play Darulumon, so you're gonna minus 3,000 onto your opponent's Shoutmon X5. You can then Digicross into X5 yourself for free in order to then swing, and they aren't going to block with that. The reason they're not going to is because if they did, their X5 would likely be killed, and they would then not be able to defend themselves, and it has piercing, so it would go straight through and still get the 2 checks anyways. We've kind of mentioned X4 already. It has Material Save 2, On Play Draw 2, End of Attack, lets you put all your materials under one of your tamers and unsuspend a tamer. Just this card in general, though, the fact that it can be played for 1 cost if you have all your materials and then redo that loop, I get why it was restricted. I kind of wish, though, it was given a bit more time. And that's not to say that I felt that it shouldn't have been restricted, because it should. I fully agree that X4 was a card that was going to be restricted eventually. I just don't like that it was so soon. If they had decided to restrict X4 around mid-EX3, so around January, that would have been okay, because at least it would have given us more time. Because once we get to EX3, there are some decks that are going to be really oppressive. Like, really. And Shoutmon and Crossheart was kind of one of these stopgaps to dealing with that. Moving on to our final level 4, though, we are running 4 copies of Darulumon. Darulumon, it has the on-play of if you have another Digimon or Tamer with Crossheart and its traits in play, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3,000 DP. We just discussed that scenario with Ballistamon. On deletion save and inherited is while this Digimon has Shoutmon in its name, all of your opponent's security Digimon get minus 2,000. This is used to make sure that your Shoutmon X4 and your X5 live. Specifically, X4 lives, so you can then do its looping effect, but we're not worried about that now. We're only running 1 level 5 here, and that's Shoutmon X5. It's got Security Attack plus 1, it's a blocker, and Material Save 3. So, out of the 5 Digimon that you use to Digicross with it, you are going to be able to save 3 in the event that it does die. A word of warning, though, being bounced back to hand or de-digivolving will not let you do your material save. For example, if you were to hit something that would de-digivolve you by 1 and you go into your Shoutmon and then it deletes that, you're only going to be able to save that Shoutmon. Everything below that is done. Very sad. But X5 is the bread and butter of the casual deck. It really is. You need to have at least 4 copies of X5 in this casual variant because we are running 3 copies of Beelzemon and 3 copies of X5B. Let's talk about Beelzemon. Beelzemon is the new Demon Lord Crossheart for this set. He's the new edgy guy. He's not that good. You would think that running Baalmon, which is a Bagra army, and then running this Beelzemon in that Bagra deck would be useful. It is not. I will be covering Bagra army for this set. Ideally, that deck, you want to at least have 1, maybe 2 copies of EX2's Beelzemon, because that just has more board control. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about BT10. On play, when digivolving, you may trash the top 3 cards of your deck. Then for every 10 cards in your trash, delete one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. That's nice and all, but we're not using it for that. We're using it for its digicrossing. It also has the inherited end of attack once per turn. For every 10 cards in your trash, gain 1 memory. This isn't going to come up as often, sadly, because you are just recycling stuff, but it can come in handy sometimes. I wouldn't even call it boss card, it's sub-boss. Our boss card is X5. Our sub-boss card here is Shoutmon X5B as our level 6, which we run 3 copies of. It has blocker, it has armor purge. It traded in its security attack +1 for armor purge. It no longer has material save, sadly, which is really sad. On play, when digivolving, you may place 1 Digimon card with Crossheart and its traits from your hand or from under one of your tamers under this Digimon as its bottom Digivolution card. Then, when this Digimon has Beelzemon Digivolution card, you may play 1 level 4 or lower Digimon card with Crossheart and its traits from your trash without paying its memory cost. This is an 11 to play, and you're only able to digicross it for 2 materials, reducing its cost by 4. You don't want to do that normally. You run the 3. If you do that if you're desperate, if you need that blocker, and you don't have all the other materials to reasonably go into X5. X5B, though, is interesting. It does have armor purge, so if it were to die while blocking, you can just armor purge that, and any piercing effects won't go through you, which is nice. You can also, through its effect, put in either a Beelzemon if you're digivolving into it, or any of your other Crossheart cards. Plus, the Beelzemon is nice because you would be able to play a level 4 or lower Digimon, such as a Shoutmon King version, so that you can grab something from trash. Ballistamon, so you have a blocker. Darulumon, if you wanted to check one of your opponent's Digimon, such as a Solar, Chikuri, or Psychmon. If you needed searching, you could then play Shoutmon. Or, good God, you could just play Shoutmon X4 and get that on-play draw too. There are kind of a lot of options when it comes to X5B. And honestly, I feel it is a shame that it didn't see a lot of use, just because it wasn't efficient enough for the deck. But this is more casual, so it'll work here. For our option cards, we are running 1 copy of Hero of the Skies, 2 copies of Crimson Blaze, and 2 copies of Fireball. Hero of the Skies is a new option card from this set. Activate one of the effects below. If you have a Digimon with Shoutmon X5 in play, activate all of the effects below instead. One of your Digimon with Crossheart and its traits gains security attack +1, and draw 2. Very nice. Crimson Blaze is basically what you use to board check your opponent. If they are running a Crossheart deck, or if they're running Jesmon specifically, this is meant to counter them. The Jessamon especially because of the rampant usage of Sistermons. Fireball is a draw power card. It has the benefit of targeting cards like Solarmon, Chikurimon, and Psychmon, which prevents players from reducing play costs. So you're able to deal with that. Otherwise, it does give you a draw 2 instead if there's no target, which is nice. As for our tamers, we're running 1 copy of Kiriha Aonuma. He's a memory fixer, and he lets us Digicross as well, like Taiki. We are running 3 copies of Zenjiro, which lets us play a Ballistamon from our hand or from under our tamers without paying its cost on play. And then when you play a Digimon with Crossheart in its traits, by suspending Zenjiro, you can gain a memory, effectively further reducing the cost of playing stuff. We're running 3 copies of Akari, which lets us play a Darulu from our hand or under a tamer without paying its cost. And then when we play a Digimon with Crossheart in its trait, we can suspend her in order to draw 1, effectively just giving us more draw power. And then finally, we're running 4 copies of Taiki. Taiki searches our deck for Crossheart cards. It has us reveal top 4 cards of our deck. It adds 1 card with Crossheart and its traits among them to our hand, and then place 1 Digimon card with Crossheart and its traits among them under this tamer. And then we place the rest at the bottom. Furthermore, when it's our turn, when we would play a Digimon with Digicross requirements, we can suspend Taiki to use cards from under our tamers as Digivolution cards for the Digicross, which Kiriha shares the same effect. Now, that is it for this casual deck. There are some cards you could tech in for the casual. As I mentioned, Balmon here is a Bagra army, so it doesn't really work for the deck, but it does have the on deletion. If you have 10 or more cards in your trash, you can play a Beelzemon for free from your trash. Other Crossheart cards, we have Dondokomon, which is just a cheap 3 cost with 4000 DP, and Spadamon. Spadamon is interesting as it is also a Legend Arms. It has the on-play of searching, or not searching really. On play, we can place it under one of our Crossheart cards in order to de-Digivolve one of our opponent's Digimons. And then it has the inherited of, when attacking once per turn, reveal top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 card with Legend Arms or Crossheart in its traits to your hand, and then place the rest at the bottom. So if you feel like wanting to go with a bit more searching, that is an option. Now, this isn't going to be useful now, but it may very well be useful in BT11 when we get the new Omni Shoutmon and Shoutmon X7, which is our BT5 Shoutmon. Now, we're not running Blitz, but this does search for Shoutmon cards. So this card can search for any Shoutmon card, whether it's Shoutmon, Shoutmon X4, X3, X7, X5, Omni Shoutmon. It can search all of these cards. If you also wanted another material to do some Digicrossing, the Starmons from BT5 are probably your best bet. The reason for this, it does have an on-play for each Digimon you have in play. One of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 1000 DP for the turn. Decent for some early board checking and also for dealing with, say, Psychmons, Chikuris, and Solars. X4, unfortunately, while I would say it used to be a viable thing for a casual deck, it no longer really is. Mainly because of the restriction of Shoutmon X4. It also has Armor Purge, and it has essentially the same effect as Shoutmon X5B, with the only difference of, instead of playing a level 4 or lower from your trash, return 2 cards with Crosshearts and its traits from your trash to your hand instead. For option cards, we do have the new Burning Star Crusher, which can basically just choose any level 4 or higher Digimon with Shoutmon in its name, and then delete one of our opponent's Digimon with DP that's less than or equal to that. it also has the inherited or security effect. Reveal 3 cards from the top of your deck, add 1 Digimon with Crossheart and its traits from among them to your hand, and you may play 1 Taiki from among them without paying its memory cost. So if you wanted to run that instead and bank on it coming from your security, that is always an option. Delicate Plan is another possible card you could want to tech in, maybe, along with, instead of Sunrise Buster, we still have Trident Revolver, which does let you play a Tamer of any color and delete an opponent's Digimon with 6,000 DP or less. Rowdy Rocker, again, is a card I don't feel could work now, but it could work later. It lets you place a red level 4 or lower Digimon from your hand under one of your Digimon as its bottom Digivolution card, and if you do, draw 2. Fire Rocket is an interesting card as well, as it can work for the deck. Basically, you can target one of your Digimon with 2 or more colors, and it gains security attack +1. Atomic Megalo Blaster is more for board checking, as you can just target multiple things as long as it equals 10,000 DP or less and delete them. Lightning Joust, similarly, like ADP, it's mainly used for the extra security checks plus DP boost. And then finally, Spiral Masquerade is a card that I would think could work, especially if you're going for more of a rush style. In the event that your opponent has a Chikuri, again, Solar or Psychmon. That is it for this casual variant of Crossheart, honestly. Again, I would say this is a very cheap and affordable deck if you were to be a new player who wants to learn how to play the game and learn about cross mechanics. Otherwise, yeah, it's not going to do well competitively, but that's what tomorrow's video is going to be about. I hope you enjoyed this. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of this. You know, how would you make this casual if you were to make a casual Crossheart deck? I will see you, though, in the next video. Peace.